Welcome to the module on statistical approach to establish quality control in the project and process. There are seven quality tools generally discussed to check the maturity of quality control and product or process control in the projects. Out of this, some of the tools are already discussed in the previous modules, and today we will be discussing the scatter diagram and control charts in detail to make you understand the importance of these tools in establishing the process and how one can use it effectively, how to draw a scatter chart and how to draw control charts in for a particular process. Statistical process control is an analytical decision-making tool which allows us to see when a process is working correctly and when it is not. Variation is present in any process. Deciding when the variation is natural and when it needs a correction is an important factor to be judged, and a statistical process helps you in that respect to identify whether the variation is natural or some special variations have been taken place in the process or product development. If you see the photograph which is having a upper control limit and a lower control limit mentioned as UCL and LCL, and you have a center line around which the outcomes of a process generally exist. Till the time the outcomes are within the upper and the lower control limits, that means the variation is due to the normal causes which are well within the control. That means the process is under control. And the moment your observation point is falling away from the UCL or the LCL, that is the upper control limit and lower control limit, then you can say that the observation or the outcome of the process is out of control, and that particular variation is due to the some assignable causes or special causes. And that is where exactly the statistical process control tools comes into picture. They identify the observations which are out of control, and then you have to determine the root cause of those out of control processes and try to minimize the outcomes which are falling out of process, and the process has to be with a variation due to the normal course of causes. So statistical process control is used to describe the variability that can be controlled or cannot be controlled. This variability is also called as common causes or special causes. Common causes occurs with the nature of the process. It exists in all the processes, almost all the processes. Special causes affects the processes, and it is this which needs to be controlled. For example, if you have a cube strength, 3 cubes having different strengths possible, but till the time the variation is plus or minus 15% of the average of 3 cubes, that means the process is within the control. The moment the values of any one cube is falling out of the range of 15%, that means the special causes have started affecting the process, and you need to have a root cause analysis in the place to find out what went wrong so that the cube strengths can be controlled. Similarly, the process is said to be under control if there is no variability because of the special causes. There are 7 basic tools to check the quality of a product or a process. It can be flow charts, cause and effect diagrams, checklist, Pareto charts, histogram, scatter diagram, and control charts. We have already discussed in detail about the flow chart, cause and effect diagram, checklist, Pareto chart, and histogram. In this particular module, we will be detailing the scatter diagram and control charts, how to draw the scatter diagram and control charts, and what are the uses of the scatter diagram and control charts. Today we will be talking about the scatter diagram. Scatter diagram is a tool to study the relationship between the two variables. If a relationship exists, it may be positive or negative, it may be strong or weak, and it may be simple or complex. The scatter diagram graphs pairs of numerical data with one variable on each axis to look for a relationship between them. If the variables are correlated, the points will fall along a line or curve. The better the correlation, the tighter the points will hug the line. When to use a scatter diagram? A scatter diagram can be used when you are trying to determine whether the two variables are related or not, like identifying properties or potential root cause of the problems, or after brainstorming causes and effect using a fishbone diagram to determine objectively whether a particular cause and effects are related or not. When determining whether two effects that appear to be related both occur with the same cause or with a different cause. When testing for autocorrelation before constructing a control chart, we must see the relationship, and the best way to judge the relationship is to plot the scatter diagram. Now, what is the procedure to make a scatter diagram? Collect the pairs of data where a relationship is suspected. Draw a graph with the independent variables on the x-axis and the dependent variables on the y-axis. For each pair of data, put a dot or a symbol where the x-axis values are intersect the y-axis values. Look at the pattern of the points to see if there is a relationship obvious or not. And if the data clearly forms a line or a curve, you may stop because the variables are correlated. Looking at the figure on the left hand side of your screen, it shows that a random distribution of points all over the quadrant. Such a distribution or a scatter indicates a lack of relationship between the two variables which are being taken in the x and the y axes. In the figure shown on the left hand side of your screen, the points appear scattered closely along a line shown as a dotted line in the diagram, traveling from the southwest to the northeast direction, indicating that if the variables on x-axis increases, the variables on the y-axis also increases. That means this is generating a positive relationship between the two variables, that is the dependent variable and the independent variable. As the points are very closely scattered around the straight line, the relationship is said to be strong. As far as the change in x value is concerned, there is a considerable amount of change in the y value also. That means if x increases, y increases. If x decreases, y is also decreases. Coming to the third category, like shown in your figure on the left hand side of the box, in which the points are scattered closely around a line sloping in northwest to the southeast directions, indicating a strong negative relationship. A negative relationship means the variables on the y-axis goes down as the variables on the x-axis goes up, meaning with the increase in the x-axis values, the y-axis value doesn't increase, rather it decreases. So this is an indication, and the best example is when you plot a graph between the water cement ratio and the compressive strength. With the increase in the water cement ratio, your compressive strength goes on decreasing. So that is a relationship showing a negative relationship between the two variables, that is, one is the water cement ratio and the second is the compressive strength of the concrete. So how do we plot the figure indicates the weak positive and weak negative relationships. Weak relationships means that the variables are related but are possibly other factors besides the variables on x-axis also affecting the variable on the y-axis. If other factors are kept constant in a controlled experiment and the data is again plotted, it would result in a scatter showing a strong relationship. If you see the photographs, like you have two plots where the dots are not that closely related to a linear relationship. That means probably with the increase in the x-axis alone, you will not have that incremental value in the y-axis because of the wide scatter of points along the straight line. So on the left hand side is a weak positive relationship, and the figure showing on the right hand side is a weak negative relationship. So there has to be some other constants which are having a equal importance and equal values or equal impact on the y values or y determinant. So therefore, by keeping those variables which are affecting with the change in the x values, if you keep them constant and then plot, then probably you will have a more closer observations confining or fitting to the line in either cases, like whether it is a weak or a strong relationship. Now coming to the control charts, in the initial slides also we have partly discussed about the control charts. Now we will be doing the detailing of how the control chart works and what is a control chart is. A control chart is a tool used to monitor the variation in a process and ensures that the process is in a state of control. This allows the operator to monitor the trends occurring in the process. The control chart reflects the specification limits, namely the upper specification limit or upper control limit and the lower specification limit or lower control limits. In addition, it has upper and lower control limits that lie within the specification limits. The upper control limit and the lower control limits are determined by evaluating a dispersion or a variability in the process. In a well-controlled process, these limits can be chosen to be equal to mean plus minus 3 times sigma respectively, where sigma is the process standard deviation and mu is the process mean. Depth of core of asphalt layer or percentage compactions achieved in the road works, compressive strength of concrete cubes, etc. are taken as an example in this module to demonstrate the use of control charts. Now, to start with, like the compressive strength of cubes, if you see, you have a set of values with a cube number and the strength achieved by them. Now what is required is you need to identify the mean strength, you need to calculate the standard deviations, the coefficient of variation, which is a ratio of standard deviation and mean, the upper control limit, which is mu plus z times sigma, and lower control limit is mu minus z times sigma, where z is the probabilities associated values with z are, if the percentage of test within plus minus z sigma is around say 50%, that means the chances of falling below the lower limit and the z value probably you can take is 0.67. Now in case of concrete, we say that 98% of the test will fall within the plus minus z sigma values. That means the z value we need to consider in this particular case is 2.33. So with that value keeping in mind as z is equal to 2.33 and standard deviation calculated is 3.21 and the mean strength as 48, you can derive the upper control limit and the lower control limit, that is mu plus 2.33 times sigma, that is 55.66, that is the upper control limit, and mu minus 2.33 times sigma. Sigma is the standard deviation, which is 3.21, and mu is 48. That means 48 minus 2.33 times 3.21 works out to be 40.71. Then what is required is you need to plot the graph in terms of the upper control limit, the lower control limit, and then the values which have been achieved in the process. Now, if you see the control charts, there is a variability which is having a special effect, like one value is falling below 40 and the other values are within the limits. So that means the process is under control provided you are able to control the values which are out of control, that is the single point. Now once that is being taken care, the whole process will come under the controlled conditions. When to use the control charts, that is when controlling ongoing process by finding and correcting problems as they occur, when predicting the expected range of outcomes from a process, or when determining whether a process is stable using a statistical control, or when analyzing pattern of processes variations from special causes to common causes. That means non-routine events and the built-in process, that the normal causes and the special causes. When determining whether your quality improvement projects should aim to prevent specific problems or to make fundamental changes to the process. Coming to the thickness control of a DBM layer, say the given layer thickness is 60 mm. Now again you need to plot the graph between the upper control limit, the lower control limit and the mean, and then you have to say what are the results you have observed. The special causes showing process not in control while checking the layer thickness of the DBM, and the possible causes or the special causes could be paver not working properly, or the string lines are being disturbed, or levels of the bottom layers are not properly maintained, which is indicative of the greater thickness at some point while laying the DBM layers. Now what is required is the moment you are able to control the special causes, then the variability which is being shown is because of the common causes, and that indicates that the process is under control. So minimum compaction required as per the modes for GSB is 98%. This is the third example we will be discussing now. The minimum compaction required as per MORTH is 98%. The control point is the 98% line in the graph plotted. All values of the compaction achieved should be having a value more than 98%. Values falling below 98% compaction levels needs a justification or a reason, and necessary rectification process is to be adopted by doing the root cause analysis. Identification of factors which are affecting the compaction of GSB layers. Now when we talk about the lesser compaction, the root cause could be that the speed of the roller is high, maybe the moisture content which is required to be maintained during the compaction is not sufficient, and so on. The moment you are able to determine the root cause of the problem by implementing the corrective measures, you will be able to control the process. Now how do you see that? Using a control chart, that means you need to plot a graph showing what is the bottom level of compaction which is required to be maintained, and what is the current level of compaction you are achieving in the project across a period of time. Okay, and then looking at the process, you can see that if it is more number of times you are having the rework issues, like the percentage compaction is less and then you have to recompact it and you have to achieve the required compaction, that means there is a special cause as far as the process control is concerned, and you need to adopt the mean root cause analysis output to improve the process. But if it is just a casual or occasional happenings, like out of 100, or say out of 100 you have 1 or 2 points which are going out of the limit, or you have 4 or 5 points which are going out of the limit, then probably it is an isolated case and the system is there, but the process is there, but it is not completely failed, rather it has got some variables occasionally or locally. So what is required is basically your values should be always within the limits required as shown in the graph, and no point should be moving out of the control chart points, which is ideally reflecting that your process is out of control. So the third category, the third example which we will be discussing today is acceptance criteria for cubes. Like for example, if you have a M25 grade of concrete, now what is required is you need to find out the mean of the groups of 4 non-overlapping consecutive test results. Then you know what is the target strength required and what is the acceptance, that is FCK plus 0.825 times the standard deviation is one criteria, and the second is FCK plus 4. So keeping those values, you have to see what is the actual result you are getting as far as the cube strength is concerned. Till the time the values are above the required FCK plus 4 values, so the concrete cubes of that particular grade are acceptable, and the process or the product is said to be under control. So to summarize this module, we talked about the definition of statistical process controls. We talked about some of the tools like scatter diagram and control charts in detail, like how to make the scatter diagram and control charts and what is the use or when it can be used to predict the maturity level of the process as far as the quality control is concerned in the project, and how these are related to the root cause analysis, what is the importance of root cause analysis to effectively remove the defects or the special variables which are there in the process to make the process normal or under control. Then the benefits of the tools in establishing the quality control in any project or process. Thank you very much for watching. Tune in for more updates.